Tall Tales Podcast. We upload videos on YouTube and upload on Spotify on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Please come check us out. And please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. My name is James.
And my name is Marlon.
I think you have a topic for us today, so I'll let you go ahead and kick us off.
I do. I know we've never had this conversation before, but just for posterity's sake, I say we have it. Have you ever heard of the 21 grams theory?
It seems like I have heard of something like that before. I don't know
What
if
do
that
you
has
think it
something
was?
to do with is it the heart loses 21 grams whenever you're passing, or am I thinking a little bit too much into it?
No. Actually, it's the body loses 21 grams.
Okay.
The theory is that the body loses 21 grams after death. So it's an unproved theory. Some studies were done. So people believe that the soul weighs 21 grams.
Oh, okay.
Now, I just wanted to bring that up for posterity's sake, like I said. What are your plans after death?
My
Now,
plans.
Not your
Okay.
plans, not your plans. What are your family's plans for you after death?
You know, to be honest with you, I don't think we've ever really had that conversation about
No.
me personally.
Oh, your parents or your kids, whatever?
Yeah, I don't think we've had that personally about me. I've definitely had that conversation with other people in my family, parents and whatnot. But as far as myself, I guess I don't really have plans. I guess it is going to be whatever it's going to be. And at that point, Marlon, to tell you the truth, I don't think I'm going to care that much. So,
Well, I mean, as far as because I've always felt that the funeral industry is a scam. The price of the caskets, the price of the funeral, I mean, the price of the hearse, everything is putting a burden on the family. And I know once we're gone, we could care less. But basically, do you care if you're cremated?
I'd rather not be, but
Why
at
not?
the same time, if it's something that, somebody
why not,
figures
though?
out,
Why not?
why not?
Why not?
I
Yeah.
don't know, because I think it's just traditionally in my family we usually don't do that. So I guess it's
But
just
do you know
something.
the difference in cost?
It's a
the hu-
huge difference. It's a huge difference. I've thought about it and I've read up on it. It's a huge difference, but I think just traditionally in our family we've always had a regular burial.
So you wouldn't care if they cremated you?
I mean, at that point, I don't think I
I
would
mean,
care.
right now, of
Right.
course. I'm not. Of course, later you don't care, but right now you don't care.
Uh,
I mean,
guess
not even
really.
to take into the biblical aspects of it all.
all right.
Let's just say, without the biblical aspects, you don't care.
Pretty much. I mean, whatever is easier for the people that are left behind.
Then it'll be most definitely cremation.
Yeah, unless you do have that kind of insurance. They do have, ways you can pay before that situation happens, and things of that nature. Like I said, at that point I won't care. But if traditionally we in my family have done a regular burial service, then I guess I'd want to keep with the family tradition and have the plot and everything like that. So,
So
that's
if
just my
if they
take.
didn't decide it, you know what? We can save a couple $1,000s. He ain't gonna care. Let's just go ahead and burn him up.
Is what it is at that point. I'll tell
Well,
you a
just-
story. I'll tell you a story like my dad told me. He was getting a brand new truck, and they have what's called gap insurance, I believe. Like if something happens to you,
Or your job, I think.
yeah,
I think gap
it'll
insurance is
pay
for
off
your
the
job.
car.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he told him straight up. He said, well, here's the thing. If they put me in the ground and a snatch man comes and gets my truck after that, I won't be caring because Henry won't be needing the truck. So basically at that point, I agree with him. Like whatever you plan on doing is whatever you plan on doing at that point.
But have you looked into the biblical aspects of it though?
I have, but the thing is, you can pick a verse out in the Bible sometimes, and you can twist it to whatever narrative you want it to be. Doesn't mean that it's right, but sometimes that happens.
So you haven't looked at the biblical aspect.
I have looked at it, but like I said before, you can twist stuff in those verses because sometimes you got to read in context when it comes to that. You can't just look at the that verse and say this is what it is. You got to read maybe the chapter before, the chapter after, the story before, the story after that. But it is what it is.
Well, I think that I think it's important to talk to your loved ones and tell them exactly, what you would like done.
I agree.
Where you would like your ashes spread, or where you don't want your ashes spread. I think that's very important. I think everyone should have a will. You should go get your will done because the state is gonna take advantage of the situation.
Oh, they will. And
So, I mean, especially you're in your 40s. I think it's very important that you should do that.
yeah, and I'm not saying you're not right in that aspect. You are. It's a difficult conversation when it comes to.
No, it's not a difficult conversation. That is
It
not
is
a difficult
when
conversation. How
you're
is that a difficult
talking
conversation.
because you're talking about what somebody's going to do in your absence or somebody else's absence. You don't want to think about that. That's not an easy thing to deal with. I mean,
You
grief,
just leave it in a will, so you don't have to have that conversation.
but you also
leave-
got to have executives or executors of the will. Somebody's got to be the power of attorney. There's a whole bunch that goes into that, and
All
we
they
all
gotta do
know.
is sign it. If they don't,
Yes,
don't
but
have the
we all
conversation,
know
just say
whenever
sign it.
that happens, a lot of times in families, people will go to court over who is the executor of the will, how it's being divvied up, and there will be hard feelings after that person passed.
It's always important to go ahead and have that done, so it's easier. I feel as though the vultures come out after someone passes.
Oh, yeah.
The true animalistic nature of mankind comes out after someone passes. I mean, people go through with sticky notes and say, "This is mine. I want this," and putting their names on stuff. And I think
And it
that's
doesn't matter if
absolutely
you got $1
crazy.
million or 1,000,000 pennies. I mean, it doesn't matter. Whoever feels like they're entitled to something, they're going to speak their piece, and it can cause a rift between families for sure.
within the family.
Yeah. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying. Like I get that having the will and whatnot is a way to kind of quell some of that. It's a way to kind of make sure things are done in order, and but at the same time, there will be a conversation who you think is going to be fit enough to be your power attorney or your executor of the will or whatnot.
I mean, just make it your kids.
Well, if you have multiple kids, you might have one kid who is a little bit more,
You're supposed to make the oldest. Biblically speaking, it's supposed to be the oldest.
right. But sometimes that oldest one ain't the right one to do the job. Let's just be honest. If you want to even go biblically with this, look at King David. He was the youngest, I believe, right?
I believe he was the youngest.
Yeah. So he had other brothers that could have taken the job, but that's not the one that was chosen. He was chosen.
True.
So what I'm saying is, yeah, typically the oldest one is supposed to have that inheritance, supposed to be doing that stuff. But sometimes with family, sometimes there's issues that arise with the older one or even the younger one. It doesn't matter. You got to pick who's best for that job at that point.
Yeah, well, mine is Shorty, so I only have one child, so she can do whatever she wants to.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to make it as painless and seamless as possible. Because like I said, it's gonna be a tough time. It's something that we all don't like to talk about, but it is something that is necessary because it's coming to us all. No matter.
I don't think it's a hard conversation, me personally. I mean, because it's part of life. You come into this world, you leave this world. Those are two things that are guaranteed.
Okay. So I mean, it's just funny to me that that's not a hard conversation for you whenever it comes to, leaving stuff here on Earth as you go into that great beyond, whatever that is.
Versus,
we had a podcast not too recently
okay,
where we talked about a hard conversation about a man's sex life. that was a harder
Well, first of
conversation.
all, it was not a man's sex life. It was sex life in general, man and woman sex life.
But he was
Because
disapproving of what was going on. He was
No
disapproving
doubt.
of what was going on.
No doubt.
And
No
it
doubt.
you said, I said that'd be to me, that's a easier conversation to what y'all are
No.
going to do after I leave this earth. Because
No,
you
that's-
now have to think about how I'm going to be without you.
I think that's an easy conversation to be had, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm just a morbid individual. I could be. But no, no. As far as, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You're guaranteed that. You are guaranteed to die. You are guaranteed to leave this earth. You are guaranteed to meet your maker and answer for the things that you've done in this world. That should be an easy conversation. This is what I want done. I've laid this out in my will, yada, 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 so on and so forth. I don't see that being a hard conversation at all, personally.
Well, like I said, you only have one daughter. So that makes
doubt.
things a little bit easier. When you've got multiple siblings, that can be a hard conversation because you're going to have to tell them, hey, this is what's going to happen, and I don't care what you think you need to do. This is what I
50-50.
want done.
Split everything 50-50.
You can't do that sometimes.
Why can't you?
You
You
can't
can
do
split
that because some people, let's just say they have financial issues. They're not good with money. They're not good with handling responsibilities like that. We all know people like that.
Of course.
So sometimes, that 50-50 sounds good, but maybe some people need theirs divvied out, not 50-50 automatically. Maybe you need to put a provision in there where they only get X amount a month over a period of time to make sure that money sustains them, if you have any. And there are people I know who they get really emotional about things, like somebody can have a dresser that they wanted, or whenever you go through those type of situations, you will hear the craziest things people will fight over. I've heard it, in some courtroom situations where people were talking about what about some pens and this, that, and other that person had, and like they feel like they're entitled to them. And like I said, it's not just an easy conversation because somebody's going to probably get mad. I'm going to be honest with you. Somebody's probably going to be upset.
You're gone, so it is what it is.
Yeah,
Let
you're
them be
not
mad.
going to care. But
No.
the fallout from whatever you do is
Well,
going to be
You shouldn't care
there.
about people's feelings after you're gone. You got more important things to worry about.
Well, here's the
I
thing.
mean, you love them. You can even tell them in a letter, "Hey, I love you. This is what I feel is best. Deuces."
That's true.
Easy peasy.
But you do realize that we live in a world where people do have feelings and their feelings get hurt. Like there are certain people who, if they weren't made the executor of the will or whatnot, they would be hurt. We go back to that sibling thing. You say it should be the oldest, biblically speaking, right? Okay. Let's just say the youngest gets chosen to do that for whatever. What that could do is bring more animosity into that sibling rivalry that we talk about. So, you want to make things seamless and easy as possible, but sometimes you're just going to piss somebody off when it comes to that situation because you need to do what's best, that you feel is best, really, for the family, for them to be able to move on peacefully.
I understand, but in all honesty, I don't have that problem. I don't have that worry. I just have the one to worry about.
Right.
So-
It's a little different. She's getting it. She's going to be it.
Well, I'm thinking she's getting it for the simple fact that I still hear the state can come through and try to,
And they can. Yeah. And we already had a
I've
topic
done my
about
due
how
diligence. I've
Yeah.
done my due diligence. I've done all I can do.
right.
So,
Once you make the
Shorty,
will,
I hope
you've
it works out for
done
you.
basically all you can do. I mean, after that, it's up to them and really the state if they want to come in and contest it or whatever. But yeah, you're right. At this age, well, really at any age, especially
At
when you
any
have
age.
children, you do need to be thinking about that kind of thing. It's a morbid situation to think about, but it's a necessary situation to think about as well. So I get what you're saying. Like you should be able to have that conversation. You should be able to lay everything out
because it's
But
guaranteed.
it is guaranteed. But like I said, it makes it a little more difficult when you do have multiple people you got to deal with.
Well, the best thing probably for you to do is just, you know, put me as the executor, and I'll take care of everything. You ain't got to worry about nothing. I'll take care of everything. You can rest in peace, brother. You can rest in peace.
Well, you can have the 2 nickels I got sitting over here if that's what you want to divvy up.
I'll take them. Most definitely, I'll take them. And those monitors, too. Let me get those, too.
Nah, you ain't getting these monitors. That's going to be given to somebody else.
But my main thing was I didn't know if you had a specific problem with being cremated versus being buried, because I've heard acquaintances tell me that, and I know this absolutely makes no sense in my mind personally, but they didn't want to be buried for the simple fact that, you know, they were claustrophobic, or, you know, they didn't want to be in the ground or whatever. But I'm like, worms are going to get you either way. And as far as the biblical aspect is concerned, I haven't come across anything, you know, as far as biblically saying that you need to be buried or you need to be cremated, or I couldn't find anything specific. So
I think there is something like that in the Old Testament.
Saying what?
I'd have to. I'll have to look at it, but I think there is like a burial ceremony or something, or the way you're supposed to.
If you're fully Jewish, but they've had funeral pyres for kings, and, you know, some were thrown overboard. You know, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason. I don't think there's anything. There's surely not a commandment, but I don't think there's anything saying that this is the way that you should leave your body.
And you might be right. I
mean, because think about it. The first century Christians, they were burned alive. Some were thrown to beast. And I'm sure that God would not disparage their souls for the simple fact that they were sacrificed. You know, so I don't think that there's anything in black and white stating that there's something that you should and should not do.
It might not be. I'm just thinking there is a lot of ceremonial laws in there, and that Leviticus and those books as well. So I'm just thinking there may be something in there that says that. We can deep dive in that a little bit and see if we see anything or not. All right. But I've also heard from some people that don't want to be cremated because they don't want to burn twice.
Well, first of all, they need to worry about the second burning. They shouldn't worry about the first burning. The second burning is the one they should worry about. The first burning, they ain't gonna even feel. You know, 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna feel it. But the
9 times out of 10, yeah. You hope 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. All right. Anything else? So hold on before you go. So you don't have a problem. I just want to make sure that when you're gone, I can tell your offspring. Just he wants his ashes scattered, whatever.
Well, like I said before, my family has been more traditional when it comes to burials. I think that's something I would more than likely want to carry on, but
that does put a burden on your family. I'm not trying to, but that does put a burden on your family.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, but the thing is, that is something that we have typically done in my family. So, I mean,
I think it doesn't matter to me. Don't get me wrong. I would probably rather be buried. But if Shorty wants to save a few bucks and toss me in an incinerator, I'm fine with that.
Right. And I get that. Nothing wrong with that at all. And like I said, it's just more tradition for me than it is anything else. And to be honest with you, I think I've already got a plot somewhere anyway. So.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, anything else? We good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go on this morbid conversation that we had today.
This is very morbid and dark, and I apologize. I mean, but this is still a conversation you need to
have
with
real
your
life.
Loved ones.
It's real life.
Real life.
Yep.
It's a guarantee. It is a guarantee. You can bank on it.
Yep.
All right. Well, I thank y'all for joining us. Remember, this is Trash Talk and Tall Tales. We upload on Spotify and YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. My name is Marlon.
And I'm James.
Thank you for joining us.